Hey guys, Owen for Team Soulforge here, and this is my Angerblader profile. It's now back at 4 again, and finally, I can actually give you my Angerblader deck profile. So, on we go. So let's just get this down here. There we go. Starter is Minimum Carno. This is obviously post Dragon Aeon. So standard starter, and grade 3s is just for Angerblader. If you are new to the game and just getting into the clan, I'll just go over the skill. For the cost of putting a rearguard as a gauge to another rearguard, you can destroy one of your opponent's rearguards. And when this guy attacks, you can blast 1, and you can stand 3 rearguards with 3 gauges, and your entire front row gains 5,000. So, as he says 12, he actually swings for 17 without boosting. So, all but Majesty, V-Series Majesty, he can get over, which is very good. Key component to this deck is for Smilo. For Sweeper, sorry. Obviously you want to load him up for as many gauges as possible. When he attacks, he gauges himself, and as a continuous skill, he gains 5k for each of his gauges, and when he hits 3 gauges or 24k, he cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities. So field nukes and column wipes can still manipulate him, but nothing that targets him directly. Next, for Smilo. Main gauger of this build, on place or on attack of the Vanguard, he gives another unit a gauge. Really good for kind of like loading up sweep or other units for coming out. And next we have 3 Megarex, secondary kind of main attacker. When it attacks a Vanguard and Vanguard only, you retire a rearguard and retire another rearguard, draw a card, and then if he's on the rear, he just CB1, and he gets power for all of his gauges until the end of that battle. Real fun when you've got a few things to pop on your Angerblader turn. And last but not least, 2-Bomb Raptor. Synergizes well with Angerblader and probably swinging at rears. Because when your opponent's rearguard is retired during your turn, or once per turn, you can gauge him, and he gains 5,000 for each gauge until the end of turn, I think. Until the end of turn, yeah. Grade 1s, obviously, for Sandy. One of the main gauge outlets. Rest him, either add a gauge to a unit or move gauges to a unit. Then for an extra CB, you can give that unit 5k. Robario, one of my favourite goddamn cards in this deck. On place, Soul Blast, and you give a gauge, and that unit gets 5k for each of that unit's gauges until the end of turn. Turning Sweep from a 24k to a 39k. Yes, it can be fucking huge. It can actually get some really big numbers. And obviously it's when it gets the power increase happens when the unit is gauged, and it counts the gauges at that time. Any gauges after the fact will not influence the power gain. 3, Noah. You want to get gauges on sweep as soon as possible. Noah, behind it. I hardly ever do the. It hardly ever has the draw skill, because smart opponents will never let it hit. But it's there if you need the hand along with Mega X this, and obviously what else I've got here. It really is. It's got decent draw power, but yeah, it's good at 3. It can be dropped to 2 at least, but I wouldn't recommend it. 3 is just a really good number. And another card at 3 is Trooper. Gains 5k for each gauge. That's it. Really great booster, and kind of blows out your opponent in unexpected ways when it's boosting something like Sweep. And last but not least, 2 Prison Bird. Yeah, one of the only real addition to this deck. On place, search top 5 for grade 3. Obviously you're wanting to get into Angerblader because he's the only one, so you need the consistency. Prison Bird is a great choice. And when a unit is gauged, the first time a unit is gauged, when a new gauge is put on, it gets 5k. So yeah, it's obviously a really good one. And on to the triggers. This is actually one of the first times I had to say this. We have 8 draw triggers, 4 crit, and 4 heal. Obviously needing to see Angerblader and getting your main pieces are needed, so that's why I've got the 8 crit. And obviously the addition of Savage Selector, you now have Archbird and Waifu triggers. Yay. Everybody gotta have the Waifu triggers. Yeah, so I've seen 6/6, but I went for the 8/4 because it's much. Yeah, you need as much card draw as possible. Yes, the gauging does hurt you, but with the proper usage, you are not gauging from deck. You are gauging from your main gauges are actually coming from the field, not from your deck, through Angerblader. So having the 8 draw doesn't actually hurt the deck as much as you would think. Yeah, so that is the whole deck. One thing I will say about this is it is reliant on Angerblader, and it obviously with results that have gone past, it's one of the decks that actually can have problems, but built as it is, I can see this is going really far. A couple of potential cards. Well, the promo that was recently announced is a decent thing to try, because it gives itself 3 gauges, so it can help. I mean, you could call it out, rest it, basically with him and say Zandi. You call him out, give itself 3 gauges, then call out Zandi, rest it, and move the gauges from him to something else. Preferably a sweep or Mega X, for them to gain a lot of power. I will have to kind of work through that, and I am really curious on what's coming in the clan selection. So, actually, once that has been released, I'll actually see what I can do with that. I wouldn't mind seeing what I could do with that. In another deck. Stay tuned. There will be a Gaia profile coming soon. And that is I do have a Gaia profile in the works, along with an Ancient Dragon build, maybe. But that's just Gaia, definitely. Ancient Dragons, maybe. I am working on a few. There are some premium profiles coming as well. So for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.